Is Howie Roseman actually a genius? Or is he playing a dangerous game that could blow up the entire Philadelphia locker room? We are looking at a roster overhaul so massive it's sending shockwaves through the NFC, and if these gambles don't pay off, the 2026 season won't just be a disappointment. It'll be a total disaster. From trading away fan favorites to betting the house on veteran castoffs, the Eagles are unrecognizable. Stick around, because we're breaking down the brand new depth chart and revealing why a massive trade for a superstar wideout might be the only thing saving this team from a midseason collapse. Before we dive into the chaos, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. The quarterback room just got a massive jolt of electricity, and it's not just about Jalen Hurts. Howie Roseman pulled the trigger on a trade with Carolina, bringing in the veteran Andy Dalton for a 2027 seventh-round pick. On paper, it's a cheap insurance policy, but beneath the surface, this move is a loud signal. Does this mean Tanner McKee's days in Philly are numbered? With McKee entering the final year of his deal, Roseman is clearly positioning himself to ship the young QB out if a desperate team overpays. Dalton isn't just a random body, either. He has deep roots in the system the Eagles are installing. He's played under the same coaching trees as the league's brightest defensive minds, making him the perfect mentor or replacement should things go south. But the real pressure is on Jalen Hurts. This man is about to work with his 11th different offensive coordinator in 11 years. That's an insane stat by Devontae Smith. Can he finally dictates the defense? Or will this revolving door of play callers ruin his prime? If McKee gets dealt, expect the Eagles to hunt for a fresh arm in the late rounds of the draft. Hurts is about to be tested like never before, and the margin for error is zero. But wait until you see the absolute gamble Howie just took on the backfield. The ground game is undergoing a total identity shift. The Eagles just took a flyer on Dameon Pierce, a guy who looked like a superstar in Houston before falling off a cliff and getting cut by the Chiefs. His yards per carry were abysmal last year. So, is this a masterclass in finding value, or just a desperate grab for depth? The hierarchy seems set with Saquon Barkley at the top, followed by Tank Bigsby and Will Shipley, but the fullback battle is where the real grit is. Carson Steele and Cam Latu are going head-to-head, and while Latu looked solid last year, Steele has the kind of raw upside that coaches drool over. Saquon Barkley is the X factor here. He's gone on record saying he's never played in a scheme quite like this one, but it's designed to be a running back's paradise. After a mediocre 2025, Saquon is hungry. If the offensive line can actually stay on the field, which was a nightmare last season, Barkley could easily be back in the Offensive Player of the Year conversation. But there's a massive if hanging over this offense, and it involves the most explosive player on the roster. Who is to blame if the Eagles' offense sputters this year? Is it the coaching or the players? Drop a name in the comments right now. The wide receiver room is currently a powder keg. We've got the elite duo of A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and now the Eagles have injected pure kerosene into the mix by signing Hollywood Marquise Brown. This is the vertical threat the team hasn't had since 2022. Having a speedster like Hollywood means safeties can't just sit in the box and dare the Eagles to run. They have to respect the deep ball. This should, in theory, create massive lanes for Saquon. We're also watching Darius Cooper and a returning Johnny Wilson, who the team desperately missed as a blocker last year. But here's the bombshell. A.J. Brown might be on the move. There are whispers everywhere that a trade is imminent. If the Eagles ship out arguably the best receiver in franchise history, they are essentially hitting the reset button to save cash for the defense. That would leave a massive hole that Devonta Smith can't fill alone. Would they trade for Deebo Samuel, sign Jawan Jennings, or use a first-round pick on a kid like Brian Thomas Jr.? Losing A.J. would be a betrayal to the fans, but from a salary cap standpoint, Howie might think he's playing 4D chess. The tight end situation is a bit more stable, but no less legendary. Dallas Goedert just inked a one-year, $7 million deal to stay home. This guy is a franchise icon, 5th all-time in catches for the team, and coming off a record-breaking 11-touchdown season. He's the ultimate safety blanket for Hurts. Behind him, It's a scrap for roster spots. Grant Calcaterra and Johnny Munt are fighting for scraps, while Stone Smart, a former QB and receiver, is the dark horse athletic freak that could surprise everyone. Goddard has taken team-friendly deals to keep the dream alive, but his injury history is the one thing that could derail the position. Now, let's talk about the big boys up front. The offensive line was a literal sieve in 2025. Jordan Mailata needs to find his motivation again after a season that was, frankly, embarrassing. Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens are out here getting stem cell treatments in South America just to keep their knees and backs from giving out. If those two aren't 100%, the middle of the line will collapse again. Tyler Steen is the only one coming off a hot year, and he's playing for a massive contract, so expect him to play like a man possessed. And then there's the legend, Lane Johnson. He's still elite, but how much longer can his body hold up? The biggest change, however, isn't on the field, it's on the sidelines. For the first time in 13 years, Jeff Stoutland isn't the one calling the shots for the O-line. Chris Cooper is stepping into those massive shoes. Replacing a legend is usually a recipe for disaster. Can Cooper maintain the Stoutland University standard, or is the wall about to crumble? On a scale of 1 to 100, how much do you trust new offensive coordinator Shane Steichen's successor, Sean Mannion? Tell me in the comments. Switching to the defense, the interior line is arguably the best in the entire league. You've got Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Moro Ojomo. Davis got his bag, and Ojomo is playing for a contract that could see him making $26 million a year if he explodes this season. The depth with Ty Robinson and Byron Young makes this group a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. Howie has been working overtime this week, and we haven't even touched on the blockbuster trade of Sidney Brown yet. It's Howie season in full effect, and the man is moving pieces like a grandmaster. But the edge rusher room, that's a total disaster right now. There are only 4 guys on the list. Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt have a talent, but they are unproven. The only veteran you can actually trust is Arnold Ebiketie. He's an analytical goldmine with a high pressure rate, and with Vic Fangio's scheme, he could finally become a double-digit sack guy. But 4 players isn't enough. Is Howie clearing cap space for a monster move? Could we see Jonathan Greenid in an Eagles jersey soon? He's cheaper than the superstars, but has the speed and twitch to transform this defense. The linebacker core took a massive hit with Nakobe Dean heading to the Raiders. The Eagles refused to pay him $13 million a year, given his injury history. And while it sucks to see him go, Fangio has some young, hungry Lions ready to step up. Jahad Campbell was a beast as a rookie, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. might be the smartest player on the field, even if he isn't the fastest. But keep an eye on Jahad Campbell's health. He's coming off shoulder surgery, and that's a massive red flag for a guy whose job is to hit people for a living. The secondary, however, looks lethal. Quinyon Mitchell and Rick Woolen on the outside with Cooper DeJean in the slot. That is a no-fly zone in the making. Woolen is a 6 feet 4 inches freak with 4.2 speed who plays with a massive chip on his shoulder. He's a perfect fit for Philly's us against the world attitude. Adding Marcus Epps back into the mix at safety after trading Sidney Brown to Atlanta was a savvy veteran move. They also brought in J.T. Gray, a special teams god who has 3 All-Pro nods. They lost some youth, but they gained a ton of grit and intelligence. Even the specialists are under the microscope. Jake Elliott is the GOAT, and the team guaranteed his $5 million for 2026, but he struggled last year because of a rotating door at long snapper. If they don't find a consistent snapper for him, the most reliable kicker in the league might start shaking. Braden Mann is locked in with a 4-year deal, but the pressure is on the front office to get the operation right so Elliott can do his thing. The roster is set, the moves are made, and the stakes have never been higher. Is this a Super Bowl roster or a high-priced wreck waiting to happen? One thing is for sure, Howie Roseman isn't done yet. Would you like me to analyze the specific draft prospects the Eagles might target to fill these remaining holes in the roster?